while making its way from Istanbul to London. The train's passengers, including the train director, Mr. Book, got trapped in the snow and now are unable to continue their journey.
Other important passengers include famous detective Hercule Poirot, whose ticket was arranged last minute, and Russian Princess Dragomira. Let's quickly go to our weather segment for further explanation.
Thank you very much. And today, the blizzard caught the Orient Express by surprise. Coming from the west, and it trapped the train on the snow. Thank you very much.
And now let's go to our reporter who is in the scene.
Thank you. As you can see, we're sitting inside the Orient Express with train director, Mr. Book. Mr. Book, what are your thoughts on what had happened here tonight?
Well, it is unfortunate, but don't worry. As we're ready, we'll resume our journey, and until then, our passengers will be safe and sound inside where they will find comfort.
What are the passengers' thoughts on what has happened? Like, do they blame you?
Well, they can't blame me for the weather, can they?
Yes, you're right.
That is all we have for you today. More on the Orient Express tomorrow. Have a good night.
Shortly after our reporter's interview with the train director of the Orient Express, a murder occurred in the train.
The body was identified this morning as Ratchet, a man who boarded the train with employees Hector McQueen and Edward Henry Masterman.
Belgian detective Hercule Poirot has already taken the case and has already come up with interesting information.
Poirot has discovered that Ratchet was actually Cassetti, the man who murdered Daisy Armstrong a few years ago. He has also discovered a pipe cleaner and a handkerchief with the letter H embroidered on it.
He has also interviewed McQueen, and apparently the secretary did not know about his secret identity. Let's now go to our reporter who is in the crime scene.
Thank you. I'm here with Hercule Poirot himself, who will tell us a bit more about the situations. Monsieur Poirot, do you have any suspicions on who might have killed Rashid, or should I say Cassidy?
It is far too early to say, but I will be interviewing more passengers throughout the day.
Tell us about your interview with Mr. McQueen. How did he react to the news of Rashid's real identity?
He seemed surprised. He claimed that he did not know about it and made it clear that his relationship with his employer was strictly professional. It is known, however, that Ratchet has received anonymous letters threatening him, and that he himself came yesterday to me and asked me for my protection. He knew that there were people out after him.
What did you tell him about the proposals?
I refused.
How come?
I didn't like his face.
Mr. Poirot, how did you find out about Cassidy's identity?
There was a blank piece of paper in his home. A letter. The name Armstrong was written on it.
And what you can tell us about the pipe cleaner and the handkerchief?
Well, I still haven't found anyone who lost a handkerchief or someone who smokes a pipe.
And can you tell us how Rashid was killed? What happened exactly?
He was stabbed 12 times. It's curious because each stab is different from the other.
How so?
Some are deep, some aren't, some are left-handed, some are right-handed.
That's very strange. And how about the time?
I believe the murder was committed sometime between midnight and 1 o'clock.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Poirot.
The Armstrong case was quite a shock to the world. Little Daisy Armstrong was only a child when she was taken away from her home and held in captivity.
The parents paid the ransom, but she was killed even so, even though we now know that Cassetti was responsible. At the time he wasn't convicted.
Another reporter of ours is in the crime scene and will now interview Poirot once more to tell us about the information of the passengers. Thank you. I am here with Mr. Hercules Poirot,
It's Hercule Poirot.
the detective who has taken on the murder case that has taken place here on the Orient Express. He claims to have a solution to the crime. But let's start from the beginning, Mr. Poirot. Mr. Poirot, what were the alibis of each passenger?
Well, first I interviewed Pierre Michel. The conductor claims he was on the other train answering the bells during the murder. The second passenger I interviewed was Mr. McQueen, Ratchet's secretary. He claims that he was having a conversation with Colonel Arbuthnot. Masterman, Ratchet's valet, says that he was awake all night in bed because of a toothache. Mrs. Hubbard claims that she saw a man in the murder she thinks in her cabin. Miss Olson said that she went to Mrs. Hubbard's compartment for some aspirin. Princess Dagomirov said she was asleep, and so were the Count and Countess. Colonel Arbuthnot confirmed Mrs. McQueen's alibi, claiming that they were conversing. Mr. Hardman was in his compartment. Mr. Fiscarelli was in his compartment, vouched for Mr. Masterman. Miss Davenham was also asleep, vouched by Miss Olson. Hildegard Smith was also in her compartment, vouched by the Mistress Princess Dragomirov.
Is there any suspicious information on any of them?
Well, Miss Debenham and Colonel Arbuthnot had an interesting conversation on the Taos Express. They said things to each other that one would never say to a stranger, as if they were part of something. Then they claimed they didn't know each other before. When I asked Miss Debenham about it, she refused to answer. Also, we know that Mr. Hardman is actually a New York detective hired by Mr. Ratchet for protection. The Count clearly did not want me to interview the Countess, and the Princess admitted that she knew the Armstrongs.
And what about the evidence found in Ratchet's compartment and
The pipe cleaner is Colonel Arbuthnot. He was the only one who admitted to smoking a pipe. The handkerchief is Princess Damegarov. Her first name is Natalia. In the letter H in Russian, it's pronounced as an N. The kimono in Mrs. Hubbard's.
And what about the murder weapon?
The weapon is a knife, and it was placed in Hildegard Smith's suitcase.
So, what is the solution?
It's simple. The murder boarded the train at Vinkovich, killed Ratchet, passed through Mrs. Hubbard's compartment, and left the train.
That's it?
As simple as that. The murder is gone.
Well, the murderer wasn't one of the passengers after all.
That's a boring solution if you ask me.
Well, we didn't ask you. That's it for today. Have a nice night.